Hi everyone, this is June 19. My name is Nikki, you also known as Facelesstrader, and you are watching the Awesome 10X channel. If this is your first time, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to our channel. We offer you every day free 1 p.m. Philippine market updates and free global market updates every 1:30 p.m. Philippine time. So hope to see you every single day as we discuss the Philippines and the global stock markets. So for June 19, 2020, the most important news that you have to know, of course, is Soler North is opening late 2022 or early 2023. Bloomberry Resorts Razon actually said that they are constructing the new Soler. There was a delay and they have scheduled the reopening for the opening of these new casinos to be by late 2022 or early 2023. This reason of about 2 to 3 year delay is actually in conjunction with their expected full economic recovery from the effects of the pandemic. You should read that Bloomberry's earnings in the first quarter fell 38% to 1.4 billion pesos due to a decline in global tourism amid the suspension of its gaming operations. This was a reversal from the company's record year in 2019, where it posted a net income growth of 38% to a full year income of about 9.96 billion pesos. So the record performance of the company in 2019 will not be reflected in their short-term future performance. And until the pandemic is over, whether it runs its course or a vaccine is created in mass quantities, when this may happen is simply a wild guess at this point, said Mr. Razon. Nevertheless, they're still on the lookout for opportunities whose potential and valuation makes sense in this environment. So given this great uncertainty, we will exercise prudence and restraint in managing our balance sheet and finances, Mr. Razon said. There's also this news that is very important for everyone. The record debt ceiling bill is pushing Philippine firms back to the bond market. Earlier yesterday, I told you that PLDT and Jollibee had a successful $600 million bond issuance. There are more companies, corporations that are looking to raise big amounts in the bond market. Corporate groups such as Ayala, JG Summit, and San Miguel are looking to raise a total of $2.5 billion with bonds. The biggest companies in the Philippines are repaying their debt the most next year, and these companies are trying to line up for a fresh fund, refinancing their bonds while the interest rates are still low. Corporate groups are looking to raise $2.5 billion with bonds after the lockdown caused the issuance to plunge to a 4 year low of $540 million in the second quarter. So that is a 500% increase in borrowing. Of course, just quarter on quarter. Philippine firms are set to join the global rush to borrow funds as they prepare for a massive debt bill. About $8 billion in corporate bonds and loans will mature in the second half of the year. Before that pile climbs to a record $16.4 billion in 2021. While the rates are low amid signs that the central bank is moving to absorb excess funds, the companies are lengthening their maturities and borrowing cheaper rates, locking in right now. Hopefully, the second half of the year will retain momentum. China Bank's President Ryan Martin Tapias expect busy next couple of months. One of the country's most active bond arrangers, as lingering pandemic uncertainty is making tenors shorter and credit spreads wider. Now, in a latest possible Philippine debt deal, PLDT already hired Credit Suisse for a series of investor calls starting on June 15. This was followed with an offering of 10 and 30-year dollar bonds. This was actually met with a 10 times oversubscription. So PLDT's $600 million bonds at 3.5% were very well received. Same for Jollibee's $600 million bonds. ICT also priced in $400 million of 10-year bonds on June 10. These are all dollar bonds. Usually the yields are 2.5 to 3.5% yields. There's only two Philippine debt issuers in the second quarter, along with a peso deal by RCBC. Developer R. Robinson's Land also has notes in the pipeline. Why is this encouraging for the Philippines. Falling interest rates are spurring increased demand for Philippine corporate securities. As US people, the global interest rate is zero. They're willing to lend money to the Jollibee, PLDT, the Ayalas, the ICT at 2.5 to 3.5%, 3.5% dollar debts. With interest rates moving down, some investors will be thinking of locking in their yields. Of course, this will be dependent on investors being satisfied with the credit spreads over the government benchmark. In a move to mop up extra funds in the market, the Philippine Central Bank said on June 8 it will gradually resume offering term deposits to financial firms, increasing the volumes in its reverse repurchase facility. An estimated 1.1 trillion pesos or $30.5 billion were released into the financial system, equivalent to about 25% of the first quarter GDP. These are actually bullish to tell you about the liquidity landscape. It means that if you have utang, like if you have debts for next year, mababayaran mo siya, given that the interest rates right now are very cheap. So it's actually positive for these big firms that they can actually loan money globally, and the global response is actually overwhelming. BDO's president Nestor Tan said that they are also planning to reissue bonds given that the interest rates at the moment are at very much lower levels. So consider that the banks can borrow 2.5 to 3.5% a year, and they are lending it out to consumers at 1% a month. That would give them a huge net interest margin. Augusto Bengzon, Chief Financial Officer of Ayala Land, felt that this was the opportunity to lock in lower borrowing costs and lengthen the debt maturity profile. Ayala Land could raise as much as 19 billion pesos through a debt capital market transaction or a bilateral loan facility before the year end to refinance and prepay certain debts. So given the positive landscape in the international debt market, this is actually a positive news for most of your Philippine big corporations. Now, today, as I said, in the index, we actually have a mixture of reds and greens. Market value in this Friday is quite big, 12.8 billion pesos, with 89 advancers and 101 decliners. It's a mixed bag, like some are up, some are down. It's a measure due to the FTSE rebalancing. In your most actively traded stocks, you could see that the most actively traded stock continues to be Mary Mart. This is a grocery that is now 808 million pesos in value traded, closed from 275 to 295, although we can look at the chart for the volatility of this name. Trades are 16,000 trades for the day. The other big giant most active trades are, of course, your PLDT, 1.2 billion. 1241 yesterday closed almost unchanged, 1231. Ayala Corp is up 2%, 808, nearing 1 billion pesos, traded at 998 million. SM Prime also 952 million pesos traded, closing at 3145. What you might be interested about are the big drops. Meralco is dropping to 265, 260 million at 265, down 4%. We might have a good risk-reward ratio here, so we're going to check the charts. AEV is up 6% to 50, 143 million. Tech is up 5%, 170 million to 886. Dito continues to go higher, 4% up to about 3 peso 24 cents. East West goes up 6% from 775 to 820. So let's take a look at the charts of the stocks that dropped big. Let's take a look at the charts of Mary Mart, since that is very active. And the news flow, no? Let's take a look at your news flow. So as you could see, Mary Mart has fallen to it's about 2 peso 50 cents. A lot of people are still trading, as evidenced by that 800 million value traded. So usually, people are gonna trade at the, wait lang, why is it not? Anyway, you could see that the 250 mark was actually the 0.786. So some people started buying at that level, and then they could be selling at 290, or some of them could hold in case it still rallies higher, with resistance still found here at about 320, 350, and more importantly, 386. So it continues to generate a lot of wild trading action. Nevertheless, if it falls below 248, you could see that there will continue to be a lot of volatility. That would be estimating from the second day, because the first day was at 125. Wait lang my chart. So there's two Fibonacci, there's two ways to check, no? Of course, this was the first day, the ceiling. Teka, let me show to you the chart again. So from the lows to the highs, so 250 is your 618, your 786 is 197. So this is really in a spot wherein some people are day trading. You still don't know how it could go, because you could see that the volatility is very big. This is a very bad bearish candle. You've got the bears overpowering your 370 and 327. The bulls have to overpower and maneuver, breaking these levels, 330 and 370, and break it above 450, just to say that that candle is negated. Nevertheless, there are supports that you can see at 2 pesos if it will also go down in the next couple of days. It's going to be very murky. Mart is still a very hotly volatile name. Uh, what else? We talked about like the 4% drop of Meralco. I think this was caused by a FTSE rebalancing. Take note that Meralco actually is giving you a good risk-reward ratio. It had a support here at about 250. It barely actually trades much, not a lot of volatility. While you may see some resistance at about 278 to 290, any drops from about 265 to 250 might be taken advantage of. Now, we saw that Ayala Corp is 808. Some people might be using that rally to actually start selling their Ayala Corp if they were buying at 750 or lower. So as you can see, Ayala Corp is very much in the hunt for cheap funding, and that could also bring about more action for Ayala Corp, for PLDT, and so forth. With the bond issuance, ICT got about $400 million. That would play a role in your higher lows for ICT. That means that these companies get funding. Cheap funding is a good thing for these companies, whether it be ICT, JG Summit, San Miguel. Of course, it was just reported that they want to borrow money. We still don't know the reaction, whether their bonds are really able to be issued. So far, we saw that Jollibee and PLDT and ICT managed to get a lot of funding. That explains your run-up for Jollibee. Any drops of Jollibee will, of course, be given supports now at about 130 to 140. So any bad news would create a higher low at lower levels. Some names for you to check out. URC has been dropping from 150 to 129. You might want to check this support area at about 120 area, or even at 125 as it goes down, ladder into your buying positions. Let's see, was there a very, very big gainer and a very, very big loser? I think Meralco is a very big loser in your 4% drop. Okay, Nickel Asia and DNL. Let's take a look at that. San Miguel Corp. Nickel Asia has been trading in a very wild range as well. There's a 10% range where people are supporting near these 180 levels. You could see 180 rallied to 2, fell back to 180. It's still consolidating, as you don't know how deep it can go. Of course, it can fall all the way to about 170s. But we can see that this is a strong performance, and it is trying to reverse. So as long as it's still above 160, you can actually see that these drops could be opportunities to load lower levels. Ano pa ba? DNL, no? DNL fell. Let's see. DNL actually made an announcement that they are looking for a slow recovery. So it's not a swift recovery for most of these names. So we have to really check higher lows for them. Right now, this was their first low at 434, today 490. Let's take a look at whether there will be supports at higher lows at 480 or so. What happened to your GT Capital? GT Cap is still consolidating. Your Bloomberry consolidating but higher level. So you could see that the market is bullish even if there is a delay in their casino by 2022. So SunTrust, of course, is a new casino in Resorts World Bayshore, Sun City. You're seeing that it's getting action, bought at about 124. So you're getting a lot of buyers, these small upticks at 121. It's still consolidating, but that is still a casino nevertheless. So yeah, I think like it's important for you to know whether the companies have ability to borrow money, and it's a good thing that PLDT is actually able to borrow. So you've got a good reasons to actually be bullish on PLDT on drops. It tells you that Ayala Corp, JG Summit, all of these names, even San Miguel, can actually borrow money during this COVID time, and that's a good news for them. So this could actually be a good news, a welcome news for San Miguel. Drops for San Miguel at about 98 to 95 would be a great buying opportunity for those looking for this company. So yeah, this is a higher low range right now, higher lows. Dito, Dito continues higher, very volatile after the break of 3. So those chasing these names should still be careful, as anyone can really just dump if it breaks below 3. Nevertheless, as long as you're ahead, you can continue to trail your gains. You've got the buying entry here at 220s, or if you were lucky to buy near 150s, or even, my God, if you got in at about 125, then you're sitting at more than 100+% profit. So that's it. Thank you for your Philippine market update. See you again later. Later, 5:30 p.m. We actually have a free class. Every Friday is a free class. Try to listen to our YouTube channel. We will be streaming it live. I will be discussing Razer, Razer, the Apple of gaming gears. See you again. Bye-bye.